Welcome to the Art of Likability, ranked one of the top podcasts in the world. In this podcast, you'll discover how to leverage likability to build stronger relationships, lead more efficiently, close more sales, and keep customers happy while increasing success in your professional and personal life. Let's jump in with your host, Arel Moody.
All right, what's going on, my likability family? Arel Moody here, your host of the Art of Likability podcast, where we teach you incredible strategies for growing success in all areas of your life. Now, if you haven't seen it, real quick, let me put it out there. I was on the show The Doctors. Ooh, some of you right now, you're probably like, yo, that's amazing. You were on The Doctors. And some of you might be like, Arel, what are you talking about? What's The Doctors? Wherever you are, it's pretty cool. It's a national daytime talk show. It's been on for about 10 seasons now. It's a panel of incredible doctors who talk about different topics. It's on CBS, a lot of it is medical related. And I got to be a featured guest where we talked about the importance of likability and how to build relationships and how you might be sabotaging your reputation and how relationships help people have greater life experiences. So if you've not yet checked out the video, head on over to artoflikability.com. And on our homepage, you'll see the video of my little segment on the show. So I'd appreciate a share, a like, a retweet if you want or whatever on the social media platform of your choice. I'm taking MySpace posts as well. I'm no shade to you if you're still on MySpace, but, maybe a couple of people might watch it if you share it on MySpace. If you're on Farmers Only, go ahead and share my video on your page. I don't know if that's even an option on Farmers Only, which is a dating site for farmers. You've seen the commercial late at night, haven't you? I'm not the only one who's up at 2 a.m. sometimes. So regardless of what platform you are on, please go ahead and share the YouTube link or share the link to the webpage. It was an honor to share we shared 3 very specific strategies. So I hope you like it. And I want to thank you. I want to put a big thank you to the Art of Likability family for helping listen to the show. We're having so many great listeners, over 1 million folks now, which is amazing. Over 170 countries, listening to the show. You, the listener, make cool moments like this happen. So I feel like when I win, we all win. Because, some of y'all been listening since day one. I appreciate y'all. Y'all could be like, I was listening to that podcast back in the day before you was doing national television. That's my homie. I never left him a 5-star review, though, on iTunes, but I like him a lot. It's not that I don't want to leave a 5-star review. It's just I haven't yet because inside I'm dead. Was that too dramatic? Was that too much? That's how I feel about all my listeners who haven't left a 5-star review yet. Come on, man. How many times I got to ask you? If you listen to more than one episode, you probably realize I've asked on every episode. There's a reason why we ask, by the way. Because when you leave a review, an angel gets its wings. That's not true. I can't prove that, but it does help with our rankings. It means a lot to me. It helps us get this message in front of even more people so we can inspire and influence the world for a positive way. And I'll tell you what, in this world, we need a lot more positive influence. Crazy things are consistently happening. I feel like we live in a world where we can't even move from one horrific experience without another horrific experience happening nationally or globally that just takes our attention away. It's a shame, honestly. So, I'm not saying this podcast will solve every problem in the world, but it will definitely influence and help people be more connected, like themselves more, like their fellow man more, and have their fellow man, human, like them more. And I think those things lead to incredibly beautiful things. So today I want to share with you a very specific strategy that I believe genuinely will help you be more effective in your life by being able to say no more effectively. Now, I did a really cool long interview on this subject a little while back with Rachel Rogers. So if you want to hear her, she's a lawyer, so she's really good at, standing up for herself and all that good stuff. So if you want to hear some impact from that interview, search the archives, Art of Likability, Rachel Rogers, and you'll see a really great in-depth article. And I recently came across this information from a psychology magazine I was reading. I was like, wow, I really like the way they said this. And they were talking about how to say no respectfully. Because in a world where we want to build better connections with people, we run into the trap or the fear that we have to be a yes person. We have to say yes to everything or people won't like us. But this article shared a few things that I thought was absolutely brilliant. So I want to share it with you so that you can more respectfully and with more grace and tact be able to say no, to free yourself up. In our last episode, we talked about time management and how to free up your time. Saying no allows yourself to free up your time more. But saying no has a lot of guilt and a lot of stress around it. So here's some of the things that I read, and I really want to share it because I think it's very powerful. The first thing is, when people are looking for help and they're asking for help, this article, by the way, was in Psychology Today. I don't think I mentioned the name of it, so it was a very good article in Psychology Today. So I like to read tons of stuff on the mind, and it's one of the magazines I like to peruse. But anyway, so we're saying in the magazine that most people who are looking for help, they actually expect to hear the word no. They expect to hear no. So by you saying no, it's not actually hurting or surprising them. Like if you've ever asked for donations, you're expecting everyone you ask, or the most people, to say no. So when someone calls you and asks like, hey, could you help me with this? If you say no, it actually doesn't surprise the person nearly as much as you might think it does. So a lot of people say, well, how do you actually say no? Just saying the word no, I think, isn't really effective, right? If someone's like, hey, could you help? And you just look them square in their eyes, you lick your lips and you pause, and then you say, no. And then you don't say anything else after that. I feel like that doesn't really happen in the real world. Like that happens maybe like in an email, maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know where in the real world you could just stare someone in the eyes and be like, no. Maintain eye contact. Tilt your head about 45 degrees to the side for emphasis and just walk away. Like, I've never seen it. And I can't imagine that would ever be done successfully, right? So here's some different phrases that you can use. One is, I'm not comfortable with that. Or, that's not going to work for me. So those phrases both say no without it being so insanely uncomfortable. So for example, hey, would you be able to help me do this? Oh, that's not going to work for me. I'm sorry. Like, could you help me move my stuff out my office into my car? I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not going to work for me. Or, oh, I'd love to, but, that's not something I'm comfortable with. That's a phrase that works. But you say, well, but how do you do it? So here's how they go a little bit deeper, which I love, right? You create principles of things that you don't feel comfortable with. So the example they gave in the article was lending money to people. Okay, lending money, right? So if you lend money, and you don't want to lend money to someone, if you say, oh, I can't lend you money, well, what are they going to say? They're going to say, why not? And then you got to come up with all these excuses and reasons and all that jazz, right? But if you phrase the word can't to don't, it actually becomes more declarative. So saying, I don't lend money to friends as a rule. It's a more declarative statement. So you can say things that are rule-based with the word don't instead of the word can't, and it's really, really effective. So if someone asks you for something, money, for example, you say, oh, I don't lend money to friends as a rule. Sorry. That's a very different than, oh, I can't do it right now. So it helps you create these rules, but you have to set boundaries and you have to stick with it, because if you give it to one friend and not the other, and then it gets out, it's a whole thing, right? So you create boundaries that, you don't, if you don't feel comfortable with, if you don't feel comfortable talking about politics, like, because there's, oh my gosh, how much political drama do we have in at least America, probably all over the world. I mean, everybody's going through something. Just say, I don't talk about politics publicly. It's a very easy statement, but it's also very declarative in the no. Because a lot of times people say, well, Aurel, if people start engaging me in political talks and I don't feel comfortable, I don't want to talk about it, how do I get out of it? This is how you do it. You simply go, I don't talk about politics in public. That's it. That's a very, I respect that. I respect that. Like, what am I going to say to that? It's actually a really great way to say it. Instead of saying, I don't feel comfortable talking about this particular subject right now because then you get yourself into a trap. You just say, I don't talk about politics publicly. So if you have things that are a general rule, you can use that phrase. If it's a gray area where sometimes you say yes, sometimes you say no, then you can say, I don't feel comfortable with that, or that's not going to work for me. I'm sorry. That's good. Now, other things I've heard, just to add a little bit more to this, is sometimes if you can't do something for someone, or you don't or won't or whatever, you can offer what you can do for them. So if someone says, hey, can you help me move my stuff? And you said, oh, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me, but let me give my friend John a call. He's got a pickup truck. Maybe he'll be available. And then you say, hey, John, could you help my friend? And they're either going to say yes or no, and then you move on. But at least you're offering something you can do. So you're going to have 3 basic categories of areas you can say no. Okay, so here are the 3 categories. No based off of a principle. So I don't lend money to friends. That's a principle. So it's always an easy no. And you clarify it with the word don't. The second one is areas that's more gray. And you can use the phrases, I don't feel comfortable with that. Or that's not going to work for me. Other phrases you can use in more of those gray areas if it's circumstantial. And then the third category, if the moment hits, if someone asks you for something, you add on to, it's not going to work for me, but let me offer XYZ. So you have some type of offer. You're not always going to have something in your head that you can offer, but when you can, it's pretty cool. Okay. So I invite you to practice this week and say no and see how that works out for you. Okay. Please go ahead and go to our website, artoflikability.com. Don't say no to this. Like if I said, go to my website, sign up for the emails because we're sending great content and free stuff. And we got new courses and stuff coming out for you. I don't want you to be like, Arel, I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm going to be like, why you listen to my podcast then, man? We giving out free stuff. We didn't even charge you for most of the stuff. We got some stuff you can invest in, of course. But 99% of the stuff we give out is free. You've been listening to this podcast for years or weeks or days or minutes. I don't know when you got into the whole Art of Likability podcast. It's all free. Our emails, absolutely free. Tons of great content. And we have some stuff that if you want some more in-depth training, you can go to artoflikability.com and get it. Some really cool stuff happening. I can't wait to share with you. So I'm going to get out of here and let you go be super sassy when you say no, but say it respectfully. But remember, hearing this podcast isn't going to help or support you in any way. Applying and implementing this information will absolutely transform your life. Thanks for listening, y'all. I appreciate every moment that I get to spend with you and you get to hear my voice, and hopefully I get to hear from you, whether it's through social media, a review on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening, or an email. It means the world to me, and I'm grateful for you. All right? Go ahead and check out the interview I did on the Doctors TV show. I think you'll like it. Sending you a big ol' high five. You are awesome. Psh.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, The Art of Likability, and reach out with any questions you have. Until next time, remember, my friend, you are awesome.